Have you ever met someone who tests your patience on purpose? Someone who raises their voice, belittles you, or tries to get under your skin? Maybe it was that one coworker who never missed a chance to undermine your work. Or perhaps it was a so-called friend who couldn't resist throwing subtle jabs your way. Maybe, just maybe, it was a complete stranger who decided to be rude for no reason at all. We've all been there. Dealing with rude people is something we all face at some point. But what do you do when faced with this kind of disrespect? You have two options: react or ignore. Most people either snap back and escalate the situation, or stay silent and let the disrespect slide. But here's the thing: neither of these responses truly gives you control or power in the situation. Reacting out of anger or frustration only fuels the fire, and ignoring it often just invites more disrespect. But what if I told you there's a third option? What if you could shut them down without ever raising your voice? The key to handling these situations lies in the power of your words. If you choose your words wisely, you can calm an aggressive person, turn their emotions back on them, and even leave them speechless. Sounds powerful, right? In this video, I'll give you some of the best comebacks you can use to handle any disrespectful interaction. Some of these words will diffuse the situation, while others will make the person self-reflect. A few might even make them reconsider ever speaking to you that way again. Let's dive into it. By the way, if you enjoy deep, thought-provoking insights on stoicism, self-improvement, and navigating life with wisdom, you'll love my free newsletter. Every day, I share powerful lessons, controversial truths, and practical strategies to help you level up, all for free. Bone, this attitude is why people avoid you. Have you ever encountered someone who constantly complains that people avoid them, cut them off, or just don't want to be around them? They might say things like, "People just can't handle my honesty," or "Everyone's fake these days." At first, they might sound like they're just speaking the truth. But when you take a closer look at their behavior, it becomes painfully clear the problem isn't everyone else, it's them. And MCC Hun. A few years ago, I had a friend, let's call him Jake. Jake was intelligent, driven, and had a sharp sense of humor. He was someone you could enjoy talking to. But Jake had one fatal flaw. He treated every social interaction like a battle. Every conversation turned into a debate, every disagreement escalated into an argument, and every minor inconvenience became a personal attack. Jake would often say, "I just tell it like it is. If people can't handle the truth, that's their problem." Or, "I don't sugarcoat things. If someone's being stupid, they need to hear it." But here's the truth. Jake's approach to communication wasn't building connections, it was pushing people away. He believed that being brutally honest made him stand out as real and authentic, but all it did was alienate him. Jake didn't realize that honesty, when it isn't wrapped in kindness and empathy, can feel more like an attack than an insight. Being blunt might seem like a strength, but in reality, it's often a defense mechanism to mask insecurity. True strength comes from knowing how to deliver the truth in a way that's thoughtful, respectful, and connects with others. That's when you start earning respect, not just from people you work with or spend time with, but from everyone you encounter. By changing the way you communicate, you stop pushing people away and start drawing them closer. So, next time you're faced with someone who thinks being rude or blunt gives them power, remember, you don't need to shout or fight. You just need to choose your words wisely and reclaim your peace. You don't need fake friends. At first, people tolerated Jake's behavior, but over time, his social circle began to shrink. Invitations to gatherings stopped coming. Group chats grew silent when he spoke, and slowly, he became isolated. The worst part, he genuinely didn't understand why. One day, he vented to me, saying, "People just don't want to hear the truth. They're so sensitive these days." I had to hit him with the harsh reality. No, Jake, people don't avoid you because you're too real. They avoid you because you make them feel bad about themselves. Then bears the difference between honesty and being an ass. Honesty can help people grow, but when honesty becomes an excuse to be unpleasant, it's no longer helpful, it's harmful. A lot of people hide behind the excuse of brutal honesty, but here's the truth: being honest doesn't mean being cruel. There's a fine line between telling the truth and using honesty as a weapon to belittle others. And MCC Hun, if every time you speak, people leave the conversation feeling worse about themselves, that's not you being real, that's you being toxic. and people will distance themselves from you. Think about it. Calling someone lazy instead of saying, "Hey, I think you're capable of more than this," isn't honesty, it's an attack. Telling someone, "No wonder no one likes you," instead of, "Maybe the way you're handling this is pushing people away," isn't the truth, it's cruelty. Shaming someone for making a mistake instead of guiding them to improve isn't bluntness, it's arrogance. If your honesty regularly leads to conflict, loneliness, and resentment, then maybe it's not your honesty that's the problem, it's your delivery. Here's a controversial take: your energy dictates how people treat you. Some people will read this and think, "I don't care if people avoid me. I don't need anyone." But that's just another lie we tell ourselves to justify our own toxicity. Humans are social creatures. Even the most independent, self-sufficient person thrives on positive interactions. The reality is, the energy you put out is the energy you receive. If your vibe is constantly negative, sarcastic, or condescending, always pointing out flaws, people will start dreading being around you. Not because they're weak, but because no one wants to be surrounded by negativity. Here's the brutal part: people won't tell you they're avoiding you. They'll just slowly fade away. Calls will go unanswered. Plans will suddenly fall through. Your texts will get one-word responses. And one day, you'll look around and realize that no one's really there anymore. Personal story: the moment I realized my attitude was the problem. I'm not writing this from a place of judgment. I've been there too. Years ago, I had a phase where I thought I was the smartest person in the room. I would shut down people's ideas, mock things I thought were dumb, and approach every conversation with sarcasm and criticism. I thought I was just being real, but in reality, I was pushing people away. I was isolating myself, all in the name of honesty. I didn't realize how my words and attitude were affecting others. And I sure didn't understand why people started to distance themselves from me. It wasn't until I got called out for it that I had to face the truth. My behavior was driving people away, not drawing them closer. You've probably been there before, when you're having a conversation, but it feels more like a debate you have to win. I used to do this all the time. I'd argue over everything, convinced I had to prove I was right. But guess what happened? Slowly, people stopped engaging with me. I remember sitting at a group dinner, everyone chatting and laughing around me, but I felt completely out of place. It hit me hard. I wasn't being too smart for these conversations. I was just being unpleasant to talk to. I had made people feel like their thoughts didn't matter. And then it clicked: why would anyone want to be around someone like that? It was a wake-up call. I had to ask myself, do I want to be right, or do I want to have real, meaningful connections? Honestly, being right all the time wasn't nearly as fulfilling as having deep, genuine relationships with others. 2. You're proving why no one respects you. Respect isn't something you demand. It's something you earn through your actions, your demeanor, and the way you treat others. Yet, oddly enough, the most disrespected people are often the ones who constantly complain about how no one respects them. They throw tantrums, demand attention, and act like the loudest voice in the room, only to wonder why people roll their eyes instead of listening. The truth is, respect is lost the moment you start begging for it. Let's talk about the loud and proud fallacy for a second. You've seen them, those people who constantly boast about how real, powerful, or important they are, yet no one actually takes them seriously. They act like their opinion is the only one that matters. They refuse to listen and mistake fear for respect. But here's the thing: respect isn't about being feared, it's about being valued. Think about it: imagine a boss who constantly screams at their employees to assert dominance. They may get people to follow orders, but they're not respected, they're tolerated. Or that guy who brags about his money, muscles, or alpha status. He's not respected, he's mocked. Even worse, the person who constantly plays the victim, whining about how no one respects them, they're not pitied, they're dismissed. Here's the brutal truth: if you constantly have to tell people to respect you, chances are they don't. When you have to demand respect, you've already lost it. Personal story: when I lost respect without realizing it, I learned this the hard way. There was a time when I thought respect came from constantly proving myself in every situation. I believed that correcting people, arguing my points aggressively, and making sure everyone knew I was the smartest, the best person in the room would earn admiration, but I was wrong. One day, I was in a heated discussion with a friend about something trivial, something that didn't even matter. I bulldozed over his opinion, dissected his argument, and acted like I had won the conversation. I fully expected him to nod and admit I was right. Instead, he sighed and said something that hit me like a ton of bricks. "You know, you're proving exactly why no one respects your opinion." An MCC hun. Then that moment stayed with me. I realized in that instant that I wasn't gaining respect, I was losing it. People didn't see me as someone to look up to. Instead, they saw me as someone exhausting to talk to. I had confused dominance with respect, and in doing so, I lost both. The hard truth. Respect comes from listening, understanding, and valuing others, not from constantly asserting your dominance or proving you're the smartest in the room. An MCC hun. Then when you act like your opinion is the only one that matters, you alienate the people around you. You push them away, not because you're right, but because you've made them feel small. Number one sign that no one respects you. Here's a brutal truth. If people constantly dismiss you, ignore your input, or only deal with you when they absolutely have to, they don't respect you. The signs are glaring, but often go unnoticed. These signs include an MCC hun. They don't take your word seriously. They avoid asking for your advice. They give you bare minimum responses in conversations. They don't acknowledge your achievements or contributions. They only interact with you when they need something. And here's the harshest part. No one will tell you directly. They won't come up to you and say, "Hey, I don't respect you." Instead, they'll treat you like an afterthought silently, but unmistakably. Why you're losing respect and how to fix it. The truth is, most people lose respect for others because of three major behaviors. If you want to change how you're treated, take a hard look at these behaviors and be ready to fix them. 1. Acting like a victim instead of taking responsibility. Nothing kills respect faster than playing the victim. If everything in your life is someone else's fault, people stop seeing you as capable. It's exhausting to be around someone who refuses to take responsibility for their actions or life. Fix, own your mistakes, control your emotions, and move forward. People respect those who handle life with composure and take responsibility for their part. 2. Talking more than you listen. People respect those who make them feel heard. If you're always the one speaking, correcting, and debating, you're alienating others. Instead of connecting with people, you're putting up walls. Fix. Listen twice as much as you speak. When people feel valued in your presence, they will naturally respect you. Active listening shows that you care about their opinions, which in turn earns their respect. 3. Confusing fear with respect. Many people mistake intimidation for respect. Fear is temporary, but respect lasts. If you rely on bullying, authority, or manipulation to get what you want, you might get short-term compliance, but you'll never gain true respect. Fix. Instead of demanding respect, embody the qualities that earn it. Integrity, confidence, and wisdom are the true foundations of respect. When you live these values, respect follows naturally. Final thought, you can't force respect, you can only earn it. If you feel like no one respects you, the problem isn't necessarily with them, it's with how you present yourself. Respect is earned through your actions, not demanded through words. Before they speak and carry themselves with quiet confidence are the ones who are respected. So, the next time you feel the urge to demand respect, ask yourself, am I proving why I deserve it? Because at the end of the day, people don't respect words, they respect actions. 3. You're not as important as you think. Let's be honest for a second. Most people walk around thinking they're the main character. They believe their opinions matter more than others, that their problems deserve special attention, and that the world should adjust to their existence. But here's the harsh reality. You're not as important as you think. And neither am I. Sounds brutal, right? But the sooner you accept this, the more powerful you become. Ever left a social event thinking, did I sound stupid? Or did they notice my mistake? Guess what? They didn't. People are too busy worrying about themselves to care about every little thing you do. Psychologists call this the spotlight effect. We tend to overestimate how much people notice us, think about us, or remember us. In reality, most people are way more focused on their own lives than on yours. The lesson, once you realize that people aren't constantly judging you, it frees you from unnecessary anxiety. You stop worrying about every small thing and start living more authentically. You don't have to perform for others or constantly seek approval. And once you let go of that pressure, You'll find freedom and confidence in simply being yourself. Spotlight effect. We tend to overestimate how much people notice or care about our actions. In reality, no one is paying as much attention to you as you think. This realization can be freeing. Once you understand this, you stop wasting energy on trying to impress people who don't even think about you. You stop overanalyzing every small mistake, holding back out of fear of judgment. Most people are too caught up in their own lives to give you more than a passing thought. Stop treating every moment like the world is watching, because it's not. You're replaceable, and that's actually a good thing. Here's a cold, hard truth. If you vanished tomorrow, the world wouldn't stop. Your job would find a replacement, your friends would grieve, but life would move on. The universe wouldn't even flinch. Harsh. Maybe, but also, it's a relief. It means you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to live under the crushing pressure of constantly trying to be someone great. Instead of chasing validation, you can focus on what truly matters: doing meaningful work, enjoying your life, and making an impact where it actually counts. The danger of thinking you're too important. Believing that you're more important than you actually are can lead to 3 major problems. 1. You expect special treatment. People who think they're special often feel entitled. Whether it's respect, attention, or success, they expect doors to open just because they exist. But here's the thing, life doesn't reward entitlement, it rewards effort. Nobody owes you admiration. You earn it through your actions, not through your assumptions. 2. You overreact to criticism. When you believe you're the center of the universe, any critique feels like an attack. You take things personally, get defensive, and refuse to learn. But the truth is, people who grow the most are the ones who listen instead of react. Accept that you're just one person among billions, flawed and constantly evolving. Once you do, criticism stops feeling like an insult and starts feeling like an opportunity to improve. 3. You struggle with rejection. If you think you're important, rejection feels like a personal failure. You assume people don't see your greatness when, in reality, they're just making choices that have nothing to do with you. Sometimes, rejection isn't about you at all, it's just life moving in a different direction. The sooner you realize this, the easier it is to move forward without bitterness. 4. Accepting you're not important makes you more powerful. Ironically, the moment you stop thinking you're so important is the moment you start living with real confidence. Why? Because true confidence doesn't come from needing to be admired. It comes from knowing your worth without needing constant validation. You stop overanalyzing every interaction. You stop expecting the world to revolve around you. And with that, you gain a peace of mind that's uncheckable. You start living for what truly matters, and your confidence becomes genuine, not fueled by the need to prove anything to anyone, but by the simple knowledge of who you truly are. Fearing judgment, stop trying to prove yourself. You stop trying to prove yourself to people who aren't even thinking about you. And guess what? That kind of confidence is what actually makes people notice and respect you. Final thought, you're not the main character, and that's okay. You're not as important as you think, but that's not an insult, it's freedom. It means you can stop performing for others and start living for yourself. So, next time you catch yourself worrying about what people think, feeling entitled to attention, or taking rejection personally, remind yourself, you're just a small part of a much bigger world, and that's a good thing. Because instead of trying to be important, you can focus on being useful, impactful, and truly alive. Enjoy being miserable. I won't join you. Some people love misery. They cling to negativity like it's their life's purpose. They complain about their problems but never seek solutions. They talk about how unfair life is but never take action. And worst of all, they expect you to nod along, sympathize, and sink into the same pit of self-pity with them. But here's the thing I refuse. You can enjoy your misery all you want, but I won't be joining you. Misery loves company, and that's the problem. Ever noticed how negative people always try to pull others down with them? They disguise it as venting, being realistic, or looking out for you, but in reality, it's a trap. They mock your ambitions because they have none. They highlight every reason why something won't work instead of finding solutions. They make their problems your problems because they don't want to face them alone. But here's the truth, being around miserable people makes you miserable too. Energy is contagious. If you surround yourself with negativity, you'll start seeing the world through the same dark, defeated lens. And before you know it, You're just another person complaining about life instead of living it. And that's not the life I signed up for, not my circus, not my misery. Some people wear their suffering like a badge of honor. They thrive on drama, live for arguments, and love playing the victim because it absolves them of responsibility. But that's their choice, not mine. I'm not heartless. I'll help people who genuinely want to change. I'll listen, offer advice, and support growth. But I won't carry someone who refuses to walk. I won't drown in someone else's negativity just to keep them company. If your identity is built around being miserable, that's your business. But I'm choosing something different: peace, progress, and purpose. Why I choose to walk away. Then one, misery is addictive, and I don't want the habit. Negativity is like quicksand. The more time you spend in it, the harder it is to escape. It's easy to get stuck in a spiral of complaining, feeding off each other's frustrations. But it doesn't have to be your reality. The more you focus on the negative, the more you attract it into your life. Bin MCC Hun. I refuse to make negativity my identity. I choose not to drown in it because it only drags me down. When you learn to walk away from toxic, miserable people, you reclaim your peace. You protect your mindset, your energy, and your time. Don't let anyone steal that from you. Next time someone tries to drag you into their misery, remember, it's not your responsibility to fix them. Take a step back and choose peace. Because peace and positivity will always get you further than complaining and chaos. How to avoid getting stuck in misery. The best way to avoid getting stuck in misery is simple. Don't step into it at all. I've seen it happen countless times. Someone starts off just wanting to vent maybe about their job, their relationships, or past mistakes. At first, it's just a way to let off steam. But slowly, that venting becomes their entire identity. Every conversation with them turns into a non-stop rant session. Every interaction is soaked in bitterness and complaints. And the worst part, they don't actually want solutions. They just want company in their misery, someone to nod along, sympathize, and share the sinking feeling with them. But you know what? I refuse to be a part of that vicious cycle. 1. I value my peace more than your complaints. I used to be polite. I'd listen to complainers patiently, nodding, offering advice, trying to be supportive. But then, one day, I realized something important. My peace is worth far more than their problems. If all you bring to the table is drama and self-pity, I'll gladly walk away without a second thought. Here's the reality: life is already full of challenges. Why make it harder by surrounding yourself with negativity? Why invite constant storms when you can choose calm? Your constant complaining won't fix a thing. It only drags everyone around down with you. 2. I have a life to build, not a pity party to attend. While some people choose to sit around feeling sorry for themselves, I'm busy creating, growing, and improving. Misery doesn't move me forward, action does. We all have tough days, and we all experience pain. But there's a crucial difference between processing pain and wallowing in it forever. Some people refuse to move on not because they can't, but because they won't. And honestly, I won't stay stuck with them. Life's too short to be dragged down by those who choose to drown in their own sorrow. How to avoid getting pulled into misery. Misery is like a black hole. It pulls you in before you even realize what's happening. So how do you escape it? Better yet, how do you avoid it altogether? 1. Recognize the patterns. There are clear warning signs when someone is addicted to misery. They never take responsibility for their own actions. They blame everyone but themselves for their problems. They reject any solutions and focus obsessively on what's wrong. Worst of all, they drain your energy instead of adding to it. Once you see these patterns, the best move is to distance yourself. Protect your peace. 2. Protect your energy. Not every problem is yours to solve, and not every complaint deserves your attention. It's okay to set boundaries with negative people. You don't owe them your time, your energy, or your peace of mind. Remember, your energy is precious. Guard it fiercely. 3. Surround yourself with growth-oriented people. The people you spend your time with shape your mindset. Choose to be around those who uplift, challenge, and inspire you. Be with people who focus on solutions, not just problems. Positive energy is contagious. Growth-minded companions will push you to be your best, while misery magnets will pull you back into the dark. Final thought: choose growth over gloom. You have a choice. You can wallow in negativity, or you can rise above it. but you can't do both. So if you want to stay miserable, that's your decision. Just don't expect me to join you. I've got better things to do, like living with purpose and joy. And here's the best part, you can choose this too. 5. I expected better from you. This sentence hits differently. It's not just a statement, it's a mirror reflecting someone's failure to meet even their own standards. Unlike simple insults, it doesn't attack. Instead, it delivers a silent but powerful disappointment. It forces the other person to look inward and question their behavior. This line says, "I believed in you, but you let me down." Or sarcasm, this phrase carries a quiet but powerful weight, a mix of disappointment, lost faith, and a gentle yet firm call to do better. That's exactly what makes it so effective. I remember a time I used this phrase on a close friend and the reaction was unforgettable. We had been friends for years, shared countless memories, but over time, I started noticing a pattern. Whenever life didn't go his way, he'd lash out at everyone around him. Failed at something, it was someone else's fault. Got called out on a mistake, instead of owning up, he attacked the other person's character. One day, during a group discussion, he started belittling someone over a minor slip-up. He acted all superior, as if he himself had never made a mistake. It was uncomfortable to watch. Everyone else stayed quiet, probably thinking, that's just how he is. But I couldn't stay silent. I looked him straight in the eyes and said, "I expected better from you." There was a pause. Silence filled the room. At first, he laughed it off, brushing it away like a joke. But I saw the shift in his expression. Unlike a typical argument where he could fight back, this was different. This wasn't an attack, it was a simple truth. He knew it. And the more he thought about it, the more that truth sank in. Why does this phrase work so well? First, it forces self-reflection. Unlike insults that trigger defensiveness, this statement challenges a person to pause and consider their actions. It asks, am I really living up to who I claim to be? Second, it carries authority. This isn't whining, begging, or attacking. It's a calm, confident assertion that you believe the other person is capable of better, but right now, they are falling short. Third, it shifts the power dynamic. When someone is disrespectful, they expect you to resist, get angry, or argue back. Instead, this phrase puts the responsibility right back on them. It's like saying, I'm not here to fight. I'm here to expect better, and you're the one who needs to step up. Here's a controversial take. If someone doesn't care, walk away. Not everyone will respond to this phrase with self-awareness or humility. Some will scoff, roll their eyes, or even gaslight you into believing you're the problem. If that happens, take note. That person might simply not be worth your time. Here's the harsh truth. If someone repeatedly disappoints you and worse, doesn't care, it's time to stop expecting better from them. I used to believe that everyone has the capacity to grow and change, but experience has taught me otherwise. Some people choose to hold on to their excuses, their bad habits, and their victim mindset. And if that's the case, you face a choice. Do you keep expecting better from someone who refuses to change, or do you move on and surround yourself with people who actually value growth, progress, and self-improvement? The choice is yours, but remember, your standards shape your life. Never settle for less than what you deserve. 6. You wouldn't talk to me like this if you respected yourself. Now, here's a hidden truth about disrespect. Have you noticed how the most disrespectful people often have the lowest self-esteem? They lash out, belittle others, and act aggressively, but deep down, it's not because they're powerful. It's because they're weak. When someone disrespects you, your first instinct might be to take it personally, to react emotionally. But pause for a second. Try to see the situation objectively. Ask yourself, would someone who truly respects themselves feel the need to tear others down? Absolutely not. A person with genuine self-respect doesn't waste their energy attacking others. They uplift, they listen, and they communicate with dignity. So next time someone speaks to you with hostility or disrespect, remember this. Their behavior reveals more about their own insecurity than it does about your worth. Their words are not about you, they're a mirror reflecting how they see themselves, not how they see you. This is the core of the psychology of disrespect. Disrespect often isn't about you at all. It usually stems from deep insecurity. It's a defense mechanism people use to hide feelings of inadequacy. The person speaking rudely might feel powerless or out of control in their own life, so they try to regain a sense of dominance by putting others down. They may harbor resentment towards themselves, projecting that bitterness outward. Often, they lack the emotional intelligence to process their feelings healthily. Desperate for validation, they might mistakenly believe that dominance equals respect. But here's the hard truth. True self-respect doesn't demand respect, it commands it naturally. People who genuinely respect themselves don't feel the need to prove their worth by diminishing others. They exude a quiet confidence that doesn't need to shout. They handle disagreements gracefully, knowing that putting others down doesn't elevate their status. It only exposes their own inner turmoil. Let me share a real-life example: the boss who yelled too much. Years ago, I worked under a boss who screamed at everyone. He belittled employees, mocked mistakes, and made people feel small. At first, I thought maybe he was just a tough leader trying to push us to do better. But the more I observed, the clearer it became he wasn't strong at all. He was deeply insecure and terrified of losing control. His constant yelling was a desperate attempt to be seen as an authority figure. Because he didn't truly respect himself, he sought validation through intimidation and fear. One day, during a team meeting where he was berating a coworker, I finally decided to speak up. Calmly, I looked him in the eye and said, "You wouldn't talk to me like this if you respected yourself." The room instantly fell silent. He was stunned, completely caught off guard. For the first time, he had no comeback because deep down, he knew I was right. His disrespect wasn't just about the coworker. It was a glaring sign of his own lack of self-respect. Why does this phrase work like a mirror? When you say, "You wouldn't talk to me like this if you respected yourself," you're not just defending yourself, you're exposing the other person's internal struggle. You force them to confront an uncomfortable truth. Their behavior reveals far more about their insecurities than about you. It instantly flips the power dynamic. They expect you to get emotional, to argue back, or to react defensively. But instead, you calmly flip the script, leaving them questioning their own actions and motives. Here's a controversial take: people who disrespect others secretly hate themselves. This might sound extreme at first, but think about it. Would a happy, confident, and self-assured person go out of their way to be cruel? Would they insult strangers, humiliate friends, feel the need to win every argument just to prove they're superior? The answer is no. A person who truly values and respects themselves doesn't seek power through humiliating others. They don't need to put others down to feel better about themselves. Those who lash out, belittle, and act condescending are often covering up their own deep vulnerabilities. They wear arrogance as armor, but beneath it lies fear and self-doubt. So, what's the takeaway? Next time someone speaks to you with hostility or disrespect, remember their words are not about your worth, they're a reflection of their own struggles. You don't have to take their insults personally. You can calmly, confidently, and gracefully call out the truth without losing your composure. When you say, "You wouldn't talk to me like this if you respected yourself," you're not just standing up for yourself, you're holding up a mirror to their insecurities. And that is true power. The loudest, meanest, and most aggressive people you encounter are often the ones who feel the most powerless inside. Their insults are nothing more than desperate attempts to hide deep insecurities. Their arrogance is just a mask covering up self-doubt. Their need to dominate others is actually a glaring sign that, deep down, they feel deeply inadequate and vulnerable. And here's the truth: the moment you calmly tell them, "You wouldn't talk to me like this if you respected yourself," you force them to confront that uncomfortable reality they're desperately trying to avoid. How do you use this powerful line in real life? When someone disrespects you, don't fall into the trap of getting defensive. Don't stoop to their level. Instead, stay calm and composed. Remember, emotion is the fuel that feeds their ego. They thrive on your reaction. Maintain eye contact. Show quiet confidence. Confidence unsettles insecure people more than anything else. Deliver the line slowly and deliberately so they feel the full weight of your words. If necessary, walk away. You don't need their approval or validation. When you refuse to engage in their toxic game, they're left staring at their own reflection, and that is far more powerful than any argument or comeback you could ever muster. Here's the final thought to keep close. How someone treats others is always a reflection of themselves, not you. Disrespectful people aren't strong, they're broken inside. They aren't truly dominant, they're desperate. They aren't powerful, they're deeply insecure. The best way to expose that truth is to hold up a mirror and let them see themselves for who they really are. At the end of the day, when someone disrespects you, it's never because you deserve it, it's because they lack self-respect. And the moment you realize this, their words lose every ounce of power over you. The strongest response you can give isn't to argue, fight back, or seek revenge. It's to stand your ground, stay calm, and gently remind them without anger or emotion that their disrespect says far more about them than it ever could about you. So next time someone tries to put you down or get under your skin, don't take the bait. Instead, let them sit alone with their own reflection, their insecurities laid bare. Because people who truly respect themselves never feel the need to tear others down. And the moment you expose that truth to them, they have no choice but to question their own behavior, and that is your true victory. Stay strong, stay grounded, and never let someone else's insecurity shake your confidence.